Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Toon review for this first post-season transfer show after the disappointment of yesterday of Manchester United winning the FA Cup, which of course negated our chances of European qualification, took us out of the Conference League, put Chelsea into it, and Man United into the Europa League. It's been a disappointing weekend for us, but we have got a transfer show today to look at some players that have been leaked in the press to us. How are you, Stato?
Yeah, very well. The transfer links are exciting. I don't feel as bothered today. A lot of Man United friends and fans in the area have been winding me up today, but I think everybody's had it. You guys in the Northeast are a little bit safer. Obviously, me and Billy are down south, and they're all Manx down here, so it's a nightmare.
Riddled with Manchester United fans, and they always appear out from beneath their stones when something good happens for them. We'll do a few comments before we get into the first player. Peter Ward says, love this show. Mike Elliott, he says, well, it'll be interesting to see who and what players we can get now there is no European football. Hopefully we can attract some quality players in certain areas that we need. Yep, I do agree with that. Shree says, good evening to him. I heard that there is still a slight possibility of a UECL qualification for Newcastle because of a potential ban for Chelsea due to FFP breaches. Most likely not going to happen, but let's see. Chelsea could actually push that out. I mean, if they're not that bothered about conference, which I'm guessing they wouldn't be. They could actually
there were a few articles straight out of the bat that they were looking at binning it off, which is gut-wrenching because most of us would have enjoyed it. So it's a difference between us and the Big Six, though, isn't it?
John Lawrence says, watch the titles gone on DR Sports so funny. Don't know what that means. Even to Corinne and Stephen Terry, who says, good evening, everyone. We'll be interested to see which players leave and who comes in before the start of next season. Interesting result in the playoff final today, Stato, with Southampton beating Leeds. Potentially gives us an outgoing of Mr. Fraser, doesn't it?
Well, there's a few things to extrapolate from that. I don't want to give too much away because I know channels will just jump on it and take the idea, but it's something we'll probably do in the next few days anyway. We'll have to have a conversation with Paul about that. But from today, there's a lot going on with that Southampton Leeds final. Phenomenal to see Adam Armstrong score, a Geordie at Wembley. Great, amazing stuff. Obviously, Ryan Fraser, now Southampton have been promoted. Not only promoted via the playoff final as well. Financially ludicrous for them. In addition to that, Leeds now not coming up are going to massively need to generate money, player sales, and there are some great players in the Leeds side as well. A lot of people watching today mentioned, some of them weren't great, and you can't judge them on one game. A lot of them are, look at some of our dross that's developed. It happens. A lot of youngsters as well. As long as they've got the work ethic, the technical ability, the high ceiling, that's what we're looking for. So there's definitely some shows and some interesting things we can do with that. But yeah, really interesting result today.
100%. FX Pro says multi reports today saying Everton want Minter and will throw in DCL as part of the deal. That'll be interesting. I don't think that will happen, but we shall see. Who knows? Funny old game football is. Anthony Darling says Elise would be an awesome signing. Gordon on one side with him on the other. Yeah, it's a dream front three, isn't it? As Slide Tester says here. Gordon, he's like an Elise. Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. FX Pro says the big worry for me now is Bruno's situations. I think if someone triggers his release clause, so in Champions League, he will go. If nobody triggers it, he will stay. Well, yeah, I think as soon as the release clause's time's gone, which is the end of June, I think the price would go up dramatically for Bruno, for perfectly honest, and I don't think anyone will pay it. Excuse me, Samsonite says he'd rather have Minter than DCL. Evening to Carl. The Ruffiad Benition says, yes, there's an outside chance Chelsea may not meet UEFA finance rules due to the higher amortization. PSR rules will get a 2-year ban or agree a 1-year ban like AC Milan, hence selling of assets they have done. Interesting. And Status put a little clue in the chat for one of the players we're doing tonight, and lots of people have guessed it. Fun little clue for the early birds tonight. Which tackle would you most desire this window? It's not Joseph Desire Job, by the way. He used to play for Middlesbrough. Slide Test says Elise is number one.
There is one comment I've seen, Billy, as well. That's a little bit further down that I wouldn't mind having a just pop it on screen. So we've got a newbie in. RJ, I'm new here. What's this channel about? Well, presumably you've clicked on it because you're a Newcastle United fan. If not, I mean, you're still welcome.
Yep.
So it is a channel about all things Newcastle United. Of course, the main host, Paul, is the guy. He's not here tonight. It's just me and Billy doing the transfer show. But this channel does match previews, reviews, We do match day lives where we watch the game with everybody. We do transfer shows, daily news shows, everything to do with the club essentially is all done on here. So, and we have a fantastic community that likes to watch and get involved, and it's just a good place for everybody to share ideas instead of sort of popping to the pub on your own down the street. If you don't necessarily have anybody next door to chat to about this, it means everybody can come together and we can all have this conversation together.
Yeah, and just to follow on from that, we are very close to 30,000 subscribers, really close, less than 200. So if you do like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button. It is free to do so. Click a thumbs up as well. Give us a like, because that helps also attract the like-minded football fans like yourself, RJ, to the channel. And if you really, really love us, you can become a member by clicking the join button, which is kind of a paid subscription. And super chats are also available by clicking that $sign below the chat there and just donating whatever you feel is great for us. It all goes towards channel up running stuff and that. It's very, very generous of you to do that, and we really do appreciate that kind of generosity. Samson Dove says there's a small chance that the Man City charges are finally dealt with, and they'll be pulled for European competitions. I think the Man City ones, I think they're going to get away with it, to be perfectly honest. And they seem very, very kind of confident in that, but we shall see even if it gets dealt this season, which again is not certain. Even to ENA, what else we got here?
We do have a super chat.
Samson Dove thinks Joe Gelhardt from Leeds. He's not really getting in Leeds' side this year, isn't he?
We'll probably have a look at Leeds in their entirety. So
yeah, Joe Gelhardt didn't get a lot of game time. He went on loan the season before, didn't he? When we were in the Premiership, when they were in the Premiership, I should say. Can't remember where he went, but he didn't pull up any trees. Jan Levens, £5 super chat. Thanks, mate. He says Minte not of the team next season would be criminal. I think he'll go out on loan again. I'm perfectly honest. Where did I get to here? Yes, we're there with Joe Gelhardt, aren't we? There we go. The Uffie prediction. Only 2 to 3 clubs can afford 100 million as a single payment. Man City, Real Madrid, PSG. Possible if KDB leaves City, would get worried, or if Real did not get Palacios, reports have as Cruz replacement. I agree with that, all of that. And FX Pros just say what I said. Saw a report Chelsea don't want Conference League, will take the ban instead. They are fools, they do. I don't know. I mean, if they do, it gets us back into Europe, doesn't it? So, yeah. Well, we'd hope anyway, unless they just take a place away from England, which is possible as well, I guess. Wow. Good evening to John Green. Stuart Pirry says, guys, it's been over 9,000 years. Can we finally announce Baz Dost?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. PSG have announced that their days of month signings are over. So it basically leaves Man City and Real Madrid. And FX Pro wants Archie Gray from Leeds, who could leave now after getting promoted. I think he's the most likely one to stay, actually, because he's Leeds born, Leeds family in the Leeds history. You know, Eddie Gray's his uncle and Frank Gray's his dad. So, yeah, I think if anyone going to stay, it'll be him. But we shall see. They have got some good young players there. They didn't click today, however. Even to Graham and also to Mark Cooper. And this is from the Wolfie prediction. Milan, if fail, UEFA PSR's 2-year ban, or can self-report and accept a 1-year ban. I think Chelsea could do that, you know, especially now it's only conference. The 10 players put on 7-year contracts can only be amortised for 5 years to UEFA and can lose 68.5 million over 2 years. So I think they could well do that. I think they could self-report, and I think it's a massive chance of it. I think they would probably allow it to go through, not go through if they were in the Europa League, but the conference. I think it might be different. It's gone all quiet on the director of football front. Big news coming. Well, maybe. We shall see. Evening to Anthony Clark. Hope you're well. And Niall Powell also. Good evening to you. We should go to our first player now. But before we do that, roughly predictions. Hopefully with Southampton winning, they will sign Ron Fraser. So we get a few million and 42k a week off the books. Couldn't agree more. Evening to Jan, Ewan, Judy J. Who else we got down here further on? Jackie Nicholson, Adam Redmond. Good evening to both of you. Ross Little and Kath. Hope you're well, Kath. John, good evening to you. Duncan Anderson, CJ, lots of people in the chat. David Noble, he said he's sick of people saying we have to start because of FFP. And there you go. Peter Beardfjord, good evening to you. Wonderful Horseshoe, he says Minte should be here. Sabti, not going to lie, I think missing out on Europe is quite good for us. It gives us more of an opportunity to get Champions League the following season. And Mick J, good evening to you also. Kieran, good evening to you. And we shall do our first player. King Hoddle says, congratulations to the Spurs and 21s on winning the Premier League 2 title. by beating Sunderland 3-1 in the final. Well, we can all congratulate you for that. Well done, Spurs beating Sunderland, having already topped the league.
We've got several Spurs fans in the chat tonight as well. We've got Liston Hines with some very complimentary comments. Thank you. And obviously we've got King Hoddle. So everybody's in tonight.
Brilliant. Sean Taylor says strong rumours on Calvert-Lewin. And Ian Toon Traders also here. Lots of people. Robert Guyver. Oh, I'm nowhere near the bottom here. Bobby P, good evening to you. Let's do our first player. P. Lord Keith, good evening to you also. And Sophia, good evening to you too. Right, let's do our first player, Stato. And it is Ramon Sosa. And you're going to pronounce it much better than me.
Ramon Sosa. There we go. From Paraguay, from the same place as Miguel Almiron. So we have another Paraguayan we're reviewing. He does have a contract at, I'm not sure if we say Talleres or I'm not sure how they say it in Argentina. Talleres, I think they say, because they have a funny Spanish accent in Argentina. So it is in the Argentinian league. He does have a contract until basically the end of December, because that's how they do wonky contracts over there, because they have wonky seasons until 2026. So a couple of years left on his contract. He is a left winger, right-footed, so very much in kind of the mold of Gordon and Barnes. He's not overly tall according to SofaScore, but his aerial wins are really, really high, and he does seem to be quite physical, which is good. He also wears the shirt number 24. I don't know if that's inspiration or, again, I don't know enough about him. We could probably do with Foxy joining the chat at some point soon, because I know he obviously follows South American football a lot more with the Colombian leagues and stuff. So he's currently rated around £8 million, euros, whatever we're assigning that to. On Transfermarkt, it's similar as well. So according to SofaScore, his strengths are consistency, long balls, and high pressing. If you watch him play at all, which again I've not seen a physical game of him. I've only seen highlights. So again, you've got to take those with a pinch of salt, because it's only the best bits. Definitely not another Vilca. This guy plays at a good level. He plays for a team that finished second in Argentina, who just played Boca Juniors and drew 0-0. So definitely not. So we'll scroll down and show you the goods, show you the money. There you go. There was the 0-0 against Boca Juniors. It's literally just happened. So here are some of his recent games. Of course, they do play lots of different funny competitions over there. So you've got Liga Profesional de Fútbol, you've got Conmebol Libertadores, you've also got the Copa Argentina there. So some of these are all over the place rating-wise. His FB ref is a little bit inconsistent because it doesn't show all of this. It shows a mixture of some, but not others. It's, again, a lot harder to track in these sorts of countries. The data is from certain competitions and not others. So really, really, really decent recent ratings with lots of assists and goals. He's definitely hit his stride in the, I would say, the last sort of 6 months. So if we go and have a look at a recent game. So there he is out on the left wing in a 4-3-3. We'll have a little click on him and see what he did in this game. So it looked like he was kind of everywhere, to be fair. Did some defensive work. Looked like he was probably in a nice set shape when defending off the ball, and then was springing around everywhere on the counter-attack. He got a goal and an assist in this game. A shot on target, one blocked. He completed a lot of dribbles, key passes, and he got stuck in physically as well with 8 out of 15 ground duels, 2 out of 3 aerial. So obviously it's very important that we have players that are competent physically, are good in the air as well in an Eddie Howe team. He does like that as a preference. Not always a problem that he's 8 out of 15. I like that they're attempting that. The fact that they're contesting the ball is great in its own right. You don't always have to win it. You have to contest it. Somebody might win the second or the third ball. It's still important. And he was fouled 3 times in that match. And I pointed this out to Billy before we started. I'm going to go back to the previous page and just show you that, look at this consistency. It continues. 7.9, 7, 7.4, 7.6, 7.6, 7.6. It's just... Consistency was one of his strengths listed on SofaScore. I mean, I can see why they've written that down. He's profiling well. There's goals, there's assists, there's work rate. Again, let's just pull a random game up in a 7.6. So again, the left-hand side in a 4-2-3-1 instead of a 4-3-3 this time. And there you go. Less of a defensive responsibility. Seemingly, they were probably a bit more dominant in this game. He played the full 90 minutes. He tried 5 crosses. None of them found their targets. Again, he's a right footer playing on the left. 7 out of 7 completed dribbles, though. Seems very, very impressive. He tried 3 shots. Very competent physically in this game, winning 10 out of 12 duels. He managed to win an aerial as well out of only 2. So yeah, profiles very, very well. I would encourage you to go and maybe have a watch of some of his clips so you can kind of familiarize yourself with how he plays. Again, it is very similar kind of Anthony Gordon style play with quite happy to take on his man, cutting in centrally and having a pop from 25 yards. He is quite good with his left foot as well. I've seen a lot of cutbacks, a lot of dinks to the back post. He's not afraid of having a pop with both feet to get it into the box. You've got to get it in the mixer at some point. So this is his FB ref, which again is their season's only just started, I think, recently. So we've not got a lot of data on FB ref for him, but he is 24 and a half ish. So he's just kind of made that step in sort of the last season, kind of moving from the youngsters up to kind of, he's now a proper senior pro, similar to, I said this to Billy as well, similar to kind of Willock and Isak. And now kind of they've progressed. So he's got a lot more confidence going forward. And he's definitely one of the main guys now. And if we scroll down and have a look, that's the magic there. Successful take-ons in the 99th percentile. And then a high volume of aerial duels won for his position as well. Please bear in mind, this is against the men's next 14 competitions. So it is not the big 5 leagues in Europe this is being compared to. This is against things like the MLS, the championship. So it's not all going to be spot on, and it is only based on 1,000 minutes of data. But I think it is fairly accurate anyway. If you go watch him play, you can definitely see that this is how he plays. Really interesting thing to note when you look at the similar players. Morgan Whittaker from Plymouth Argyle appears on this list, and that's somebody we've been linked with previously. So it would make logical sense that both of these players are in a little book somewhere in some scout's drawer. There's data all over the place for them. It's how clubs operate. They'll have lots of names that profile in lots of different ways for positions and areas they want to recruit for. So it makes a lot of sense that he's there. If we show you career to date, so 2 seasons in Paraguay at River Plate and Olimpia, and then he went to Argentina to, I'm not sure who this team is, Gimnasia LP, whoever they are, and then he went to Talleres. 20 starts last season with 4 goals, 4 assists. And now he looks like he's playing a lot more recently. So he's a fully integrated first team player who is very important to them, a very, very direct kind of player. His transfer marked 8 caps for Paraguay. I'm sure a few of you are asking if he knows about Miggy or anybody. Well, his agent, this is his agent. So he represents mostly Paraguayan players, one of which is Miggy right at the top. So makes it even more realistic. The fact that he profiles well for our squad recruitment. He's a good age and we know the agent. So we have a player on our books who uses this agent. So a lot of plausible things in this story, definitely. And in terms of what other data can we give you from here? So we already knew that. Contract expires 2026. Market value about 8 million. It says he can play all across the front 3. I've mostly seen him on the left. I've not seen much of him in any of those other positions. I've only ever seen content of him on the left-hand side. So again, something, if we get stronger links with him, we would have to kind of go and have a look at some more games. Looks like he did actually come through at River Plate in Paraguay as well. So, and that is, to be honest, with everything we've got and everything I've managed to research, that is Ramon Sosa for now. I think it's an interesting pick. I think it'd be a good buy for the price. Obviously, he's going to play on the left-hand side, you'd imagine, and we are quite stacked in that area, as long as Barnes can stay fit. But for the price, if we could get him for a reasonable price, it might be good squad depth. He's a good age as well. If it doesn't work out, you'd imagine you'd be able to get a reasonable return on investment for him. So I'm on the fence with this one. I would love it as a signing, but in terms of squad building, I think we possibly not the right position for us at the moment.
Yeah, well, stacked on that left-hand side, aren't we? Unless we're going to convert Gordon into a more permanent right-hand side player, which I don't see any doing. But it could happen. But a cheap kind of signing, wouldn't he? It wouldn't cost him an awful lot, and I guess his wages are really small. So there's potential there, isn't there? Ramon Sosa. a diminutive little Paraguayan. We've already got one who's possibly on the way out, by what the reports are saying. Ipswich Town, very interested in him. Also Saudi Arabia. And there's Fox's comment on Sosa there. Yeah, very direct, always looking to take his man on good pace. Interesting to see how he does in the Copa America, which of course starts soon, doesn't it? We can kind of watch some of those games later on in the night, and I certainly will be.
Foxy says he played on the right for his previous teams. Yeah, okay, interesting.
Yeah, another one. Lewis Hall says, could you cover Johan Bakayoko is a good right wing of PSV? Would be unreal for us. If he's linked in the press, then we shall do so. Otherwise, no. Because we don't just pull these out of our backsides. These are linked in the press. So we don't get accused of being favouritism towards our favourite players. This is literally all media linked. C15 Rice says we need a right winger, goalkeeper, young striker. I agree. And Lewis says Sosa would be another Miggy Almiron, calling it now. Well, if we get the last season's Miggy, that'd be all right, wouldn't it? Surely.
Well, I mean, everybody's talking about Miggy in this comparison, which is fair, even though he's on the opposite side. I think it's worth noting with Miggy that he's going to be 31 at the end of this season, 32. So the potential for sell-on value is going down and down and down and down. If we retain him and he doesn't have a great season next year, we're not really going to get anything for him. It's risky. It's risky, and we need every penny we can get for resale. And he has value. There's not many players in the squad that we could sell at the moment that would give us some kind of value. We've got Trippier possibly, but again, it'd be nice to keep him if we could. But Miggy, Wilson, Trippier. Yeah, I think Miggy has to go this window. Even if he could maybe give us another purple patch season, I just think I'd rather we reinvest into a younger option.
Couldn't agree more. Let's go on to our second player then. Is it all keyed up, Sato?
It is indeed.
Right, I'll let it now then. And it is Desiree Doue. We have done this fellow a couple of times before, and he was the clue that Sato gave earlier to one of the signings. So let's potential signers, I should say. Let's have a deep dive on Desiree.
So I'm going to preface this by saying we've reviewed him twice before, so it's not like a new thing for this channel. I know his name's popped up recently a lot. We have reviewed him a couple of times, probably close to a year ago now when he broke through. Seeing some of the stuff from him this year is just absolutely incredible. This kid is another level. After watching a few games this season for them, because they've got some fantastic players in this squad as well. Right. Well, let's, instead of me just waffling about him, let's show you. But this guy, guys, is just, yeah. So left hand side, and I say that loosely. Left wing, left mid, left sort of central midfield. I've seen him out on the right in a 4-4-2 as well, in the centre. So that this guy has played in most places in midfield and up on the sort of the left hand side as well. So I truly believe he could play in many positions for us. He's so versatile. Again, he's right footed as well. 181 centimeters, not overly relevant, but he's got decent physicality in terms of his aerials. His ground duels and stuff are fantastic, so we will go through that. 21 million euros. His transfer mark says similar. This kid's going to go for a lot more than that. If anybody gets in for 20, snap your hand off for that, honestly. This kid's ridiculous. So if we scroll down and have a look, bearing in mind this kid's 18, so he's only just kind of broken into the side to play all the time. There's been a lot of sort of on the bench games and mixed games, because they do have quite a stacked attack in this squad. So if we go and have a look at the final game of the season, he did only drop a 6.1. But if we scroll down, we will kind of explain why, because they have a great team. You've got Enzo Lafi in there. You've got Benjamin Beauregard. You've got Amina Guiri, who we've been linked with before. There he is on the left, Doue. You've also got Martin Terrier in there, who's a great player. So they profile so well in an attacking sense. And I'm shocked they only finished 10th in Liga, and I do feel like they could have done a lot better than that. They've also got one of your old favourites, Billy, and Calimundo up front.
Yeah,
so he's on the books. So they've got a lot of options. And as you can see here, he's played out on the left in a 4-4-2. You've got him here dropping a 7.4 in a 3-2 win over Mets. And then on this side, he played central midfield. So they played a 4-4-2, Terrier out on the left and him in midfield. And if we go and have a look at his data for this game, he was absolutely everywhere. Played 87 minutes. And as you can see, involved in everything. This guy is a creative monster. He just wants to be on the ball all the time. 90 touches of the ball, which is a lot for this kind of profile of player. High passing accuracy as well in this game. 2 key passes, an accurate cross, 4 accurate long balls, but he's still completing successful dribbles. His physicality, bearing in mind he's 18, remember guys, 18 years old, 6 out of 9 ground duels, 2 out of 3 aerials. Absolutely fantastic. And there are some better games in here as well. If you fish through some of these other results, there's some incredible things. He dropped an 8.3 in a loss to Toulouse, which is crazy. So there's a slightly more offensive lineup there in a 4-2-3-1 with him on the left with Calimundo being the central focal point. So he's on the left-hand side a lot more in this game. 3 key passes, another cross, 3 long balls. He's tried 4 shots in this game. Look at that as well for data. Completed 7 dribbles, which is outstanding. 13 out of 21 ground duels. Again, yeah, fine. He's lost a fair few there. He's lost 8. But the fact that you've got somebody who's 18 years old who's contesting the ball in that kind of way 21 times and still coming out with the ball 13 times in it, and when you factor in that he was fouled 6 times in that game, they just can't get the ball off this kid. He is a technical wizard with physicality, with pace. He's again, think Lewis Miley in terms of brain. He's an 18-year-old who can play senior football, and he's been playing men's football. He can play in midfield. Again, he does need more refinement. Bill pointing out he's lost possession 23 times. He's 18, rough around the edges. Again, they finished 10th in Ligue 1. But he is a fantastic player who, if developed well, is going to be incredible. It is worth noting that they've played some really big hitters this season. They had a 1-0 loss to PSG here. They actually managed to draw with them earlier on in the season as well. So in Feb, there was a 1-1 draw against PSG in which he assisted the goal. They also played Milan and they beat them at home. So they managed to beat Milan. We know Milan. We played them twice. So it's a good kind of comparison for everyone watching who would have watched any of the AC Milan games. So this is the Milan game here. It played a 4-3-3 with him as the deeper midfielder. So again, tasked with a slightly different job in this game. So the fact that you're asking an 18-year-old to be the guy who's going to move around and do all these different roles, they must have a lot of trust in him. And he struggled in that game, 2 out of 14 ground duels. So not fantastic in that game, but the fact that they're trusting him to try and do that, and he still was decent offensively there with 2 key passes as well and 4 shots. So again, a little bit raw still, but he's come on leaps and bounds this season. When we've reviewed him previously, there wasn't as much to go on. It was all just potential. He looks like he will be fantastic, whereas now we're seeing a lot more evidence of it, and he's definitely putting up some good numbers in full men's competitions. So let's go to the FB ref again. So he's very close to being 19 now. So he's definitely growing up. 1,600 minutes in Ligue 1 this season with 4 goals and 4 assists. And if we scroll down and have a look at the important data, he's profiling rather well. So you can view him as a midfielder or as an attacking midfielder / winger on FBref because he kind of operates in both roles. So the data is somewhat skewed because he kind of plays everywhere. But I think it still proves how good he is at progressing the ball. Just look, regardless of whether we put it on either or, his successful take-on rate is either in the 93rd percentile or the 99th. So whichever way you spin it, he's very good at progressing the ball forward. He's definitely getting up there with his physicality. Again, he's sort of middle of the pack in terms of tackles and interceptions for his age range. Does it get better if we switch to this? It does. If you switch him to an attacking midfielder / winger, his defensive metrics go through the roof. But again, take it with a pinch of salt because he's played multiple positions this season. But again, shot creating actions.
Tells me he's good on the press. That's it.
Well, if you watch him play, yeah, he doesn't give up. He doesn't give up at all. He's the kind of guy like I've seen a lot of this guy play real time this season. I haven't with some of the others we've reviewed, but Desiree Doue I have seen 5 or 6 times this year because he's somebody that we've been linked with previously, and it's kind of a team I've got a bit of an affinity for in Ligue 1. There's been a lot of really interesting football on for free this year in Ligue 1 and from the Bundesliga. So, but it's definitely worth watching this kid. If you go and watch maybe some YouTube clips, again, it's not always perfect. They do cherry pick. However, this guy wants the ball in every position. If he's quite happy to take the ball when there's 4 people around him, and he's capable of getting away from them, both with physicality, with a little nutmeg, with being able to pause and wait for opposition to move. He's got that technical ability. He's got the reading of his opponents, and he's happy to wait, which people hate that, especially when he's running at them. And he's just a phenomenal player. I think anybody who gets this kind of player is going to be lucky. Because he's kind of that maverick profile that I've been kind of whinging that doesn't exist at the moment, except it's almost like a hybrid modern version because he's got that physicality on top of it as well. He fights for every ball. It's kind of like he's got profiles sort of like that Gordon has, but this guy is a technical wizard as well. He's quite happy to pull out little samba tricks to get himself out of trouble. He's quite happy to do a little back heel to progress the ball down the left wing for someone else to run onto. He's got all of those little things to get himself out of trouble. In terms of who he profiles like as well, in midfield, you've got Szoboszlai on there for Liverpool. You've got Harvey Elliott's on there, Gravenberch as well. You've also got Bernardo Silva at City. And in terms of attacking midfielders, you have Matthias Sule, of course, the guy who's at Frosinone, who we've been linked with very heavily as well. So, we pointed out the previous link with Ramon Sosa, the fact that this guy also profiles very similarly to somebody that we've also been linked with, kind of gives weight to maybe he's on a scouting report somewhere with a list of players.
Some good players there. Chuck Wasey, Remy Cabella.
Anthony, but
no,
yeah, Cabella.
Philip Anderson, of course, was very good at West Ham. I think he's now in Saudi, isn't he? Yeah, some good players there, and of course he looks a hell of a player. But we say this every time we see him. We look into him. We always say what a player he is, what a player he's going to be.
Well, this is kind of about where we reviewed him last time. So we'd got last year he made 26 appearances, 11 starts with 1,100 minutes. So when we reviewed him last time, there wasn't as much to go on. Now we've had a full season out of him. Well, not even a full season. He was still a child. Fantastic. Look at that. And if we go back to his FB ref, I'm pretty sure he's been playing for the France under-19s. If we have a look, anything in this? No. I'm pretty sure there are some France under-19s somewhere. Yeah, there we go. European Championship qualifiers for the France under-19s. So to get into any age bracket for France, you have to be very good because they are stacked. They are without a doubt, undisputedly the most stacked nation on the planet for footballing talent right now. They are absolutely stacked with talent. So the fact that he's involved in that national setup as well, just goes to show. And in fact, let's back that up. 2 caps for the France under-23s, but he plays for the under-19s as well. Scroll down and have a look. Yeah, there you go. Look, he's been involved in the setup all the way since the under-17s. Lots of appearances throughout all of the age groups. Dual citizenship with Côte d'Ivoire. So again, with how stacked they are, I mean, this is Mbappe's position for France, bearing in mind. So considering how stacked they are, he might end up playing for Côte d'Ivoire in the future. You never know. Player agent is still relatives. So that makes it quite intriguing. The fact that he's going to have 2 years left on his contract and it's relatives. So he's due a big move. Well, you say due a big move. Okay, I retract that. This guy could probably do with another season in France. I don't think he'll get one, though. I think somebody will buy him. He could probably do with another season developing, playing a lot more minutes. But I genuinely think somebody's just going to buy him. Somebody big will buy him. And whenever a footballing website says that you are both-footed, it normally means that you're very good. It just doesn't. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what situation you put him in. He gets out of it, and his goals are fantastic. His assists are fantastic. His general play is great as well. And the fact that he's so willing to get stuck in as an 18-year-old, yeah, I don't even care if we're stacked in the kind of positions that he's in. Absolutely. If this guy even shows remote interest in coming to Newcastle, buy him straight away. Buy him. This is somebody that will be playing in the latter stages of the Champions League for his career. In my opinion, I think he's phenomenal. So
looks a fantastic.
Absolute yes from me. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I'm a yes on him. Wise Guy says, are these players we're actually linked with? Yes, they are. We don't do it otherwise. As I said before, we don't just pluck them out in thin air. The media have linked us to Desiree Doue. Jordan would prefer Gibbs White. IDK says, talk about Callum Wendo. He'd be a good third or backup striker. I tend to agree with that. King Hoddle says, got to back my boy Romero for an Argentine victory to go with the World Cup. Yeah, okay. If we got Doue, would you sell Willock?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love Joe Willock, but yes, I would 100% straight swap. Why not straight swap, but I think Doue is going to be a lot more than 20 mil, but 100% I would do that.
Well, people talk about Eddie Howe leaving, which probably isn't going to happen. Doue and Minte are both class, says Jan. They are. Lewis Hall, we must have 300 million with all these players we are signing. Yeah, because he's kind of linking us to Zero Gas. I mean, Grassi apparently has that release clause back in again now. So, I mean, the cheap version.
I think he'll stay in the Bundesliga, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. He's had a really good season, hasn't he? For Stuttgart, he plays, isn't it? We've had 2 World Cups. Who cares? Lost position 12. Yeah, he's talking about the Doue stuff. Oh, dear me. Reece thinks he goes to Manchester United. Adam says his stats are amazing. We should look at him. I think we already are looking at him. Saul Pro, very depressive. So why do I feel this window we only get Tosin, Lloyd Kelly, and Ramsdale on loan?
That's not going to happen. There'll be a big signing. I truly believe there'll be a big signing every summer window. Just
imagine him and Bruno playing together, says Kieran. It's a nice thought, isn't it? Him, Bruno, and Joe Linton as a midfield 3, or Tonali. Gives us real depth, and he can play further up the pitch as well. It's his versatility that I like. I like the fact he can play anywhere. He can play right wing, left wing, anywhere across. Well, not number 6, but left and right.
Yeah, well, he's played. He's not really played in a 4-3-3 system in midfield in the conventional sense. He's kind of stays out wide, but in 4-4-2s and off the ball, he's operated centrally quite a few times as well. So he's got some really good experience in some interesting shapes. And he gets tasked with different roles. He's not always amazing at it, but it's again, he's got a lot of strings to his bow. So, and I do feel a lot more confident in what I'm saying with this guy because I have seen him physically with my own eyes at least 6 times this season. So it's easier for me to kind of give that. It is always a lot harder with the players that I've not been able to see as much because when we get linked with 50, 60, 70, I just can't watch everybody, guys. It's not possible. We would need a full team to do that. But this guy I have watched because he's been linked with us for quite a long time, and yeah, he's. I don't want to throw too many crazy words out, but just go and watch 2 minutes of him. Once we finish the transfer show, go and type this guy's name into YouTube and just watch 2 minutes, and you'll be like, oh my god, the fact that he gets out of situations that he's in, it's just fantastic. I think he'd be fine in the Premier League, especially the fact that he's this capable at 18. Yeah.
So King Hoddle's criticising Tosin and Kelly, but they are only going to be squad players. Although, of course, with the way our centre halves, we've got 2 injured now till Christmas, they're going to get game time. But they're young, good players. I don't see what the problem is.
I think Tosin was very, very good, and he got left out of the Fulham squad because of the contract issue.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit harsh.
We've got another super chat from Peter Garthwaite. Would you take Poch and let Eddie go?
No, not yet. Eddie Howe definitely gets another full season. I think he's more than capable, in my opinion. And then obviously, depending on what happens next year, I think it will get reviewed at the end of each season. So
I'll be tempted, I've got to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I would be. If England, especially if England come calling for Eddie Howe as a replacement, I think Poch would be top of my list, if I'm perfectly honest. But I wouldn't sack Eddie Howe. Absolutely not. But I think there will be a strict conversation had, and maybe England come a calling. Who knows? Anyone heard of a Snakeworth replacement coming in yet? Oh yeah, Ashworth, I'm with you now. Sparez has been, apparently I've read somewhere, may have been offered the job, but we shall see. Is it Sporez, whatever his name is? The other one's to Friedman, but
Nixon as well. There's been rumours that we're going to promote him into that role, and yeah, we'll have to let the dust settle a little bit because there's a lot of really strange stuff going about. So probably a bit too early to do another show on it. Otherwise, we're just going to be waffling about hypotheticals. I think obviously the Friedman rejection thing is, we don't know if it's 100% true, but it's quite likely because it was reported on by sort of, decent sources. You got sort of your Craig Hopes and stuff like that. I've put it out there, and they don't tend to do that unless they've got good sources on it. So we'll wait until we get something a little bit more concrete in news, and we'll do another director football show, definitely.
100%. Skid marking Steve Bruce's wife says Michael Elise should be the number one target. And we're going to go into our third player any second now. Paul Sprague says we have to be aiming for top four and a cup next season as a club. I tend to agree. I think Foxy says Doue will play for France in the Olympics. That'd be interesting to watch, especially in the home Olympics. I should be watching that with bated breath because I think that'll be a good tournament. I'm dying for us to keep Minte next season. We shall see. Tristan says Stato when Arsenal bought Saliba, he went out and learned why we're buying in France as their league has no money. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Saliba went back on loan, didn't he, for a season and came back in, and he's been fantastic from since. So,
well, he needed the loan because before he went out on loan, he was a little bit error prone, and he needed a full season. So it's a bit different with defenders, though, isn't it? Especially centre halves.
If you get knocked out of both cups in the first round, admittedly unlikely you'll have a 40-game season, and trust me, that is horrible.
I know, because that's what we're used to that, King Hoddle. Don't worry. Before, it wasn't that long ago the takeover happened. That was a normal season for us typically.
Yeah, it was. Somehow I'm not so optimistic all this talk. We'll probably end up with Calvin Phillips. I don't think so.
Definitely not.
All players linked in credible media sources, not some bloke in the black garter, says Tom. That's exactly right.
Well, they're not. To be fair, they're not all credible media sources. Because some of the media links will come from maybe a different country, from maybe the country that the player plays in, or it might have just been some transfer gossip online, or it might have been a legitimate sort of news article that's been run. So we tend to have a look at it. Anything kind of qualifies it for a transfer show. But then again, these are all maybes. Everything we review is a maybe. So,
right, third player then. And I think we are stepping down to League 1 or 2 here for Bailey Di Peppa, who plays for Port Vale.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people get really arsey when we review players in the Championship. Well, hold the phone, because we're about to review somebody who's just played in League 1 and they've just gotten relegated to League 2. So, but we've been linked. So we're going to look at it. He is only 17 years old. He's not the reason they got relegated. Don't worry. Everybody has to start somewhere. Bailey Di Peppa. Never seen Bailey spelled that way. It's quite interesting, actually. So he is a young striker. And he's recently sort of broken into the side, been playing a lot for them. There's not really a lot of data on the websites for him yet. But if you go and watch this guy play, he is nice and tall. He's very physical, very strong. He's a good sort of hold-up player, likes to run into the channels left and right side. And for somebody who's 17, if you go and watch any clips of him, he looks more than happy to for the rough and tumble of senior football, especially in League 1 as well. And there's been a lot of praise about him sort of nationally. A game, I think it was against Bristol Rovers, I believe. Every game against Bristol Rovers, he was really, really good. So let's have a look at his transfer mark, which again, there's not a lot here other than the fact he was born in Blythe Bridge, which is not in the northeast, guys. It's not Blythe. It's actually a town. I think it's a village in Stafford. So he's not from the northeast before you get your hopes up. So he's played a few games for the England under-17s. Most recently, played against France and Portugal. Obviously, we did lose to Portugal, but he actually scored in the game, and we beat France the other day. So beating France at any age group is really impressive, and he contributed a lot to that. So definitely worth watching him. So there's definitely going to be some more games of him at the under-17 level. So 100% worth watching. Agent is unknown, as player is under 18. Again, I don't know enough about him to know what that. Maybe it's his dad. Who knows? So contract expires June 2026. So 2 years left in his contract. Again, I'm pretty sure he's only just recently signed one. Yeah, so there is a video from a few months ago on YouTube from the Port Vale official of him giving his interview about signing his first professional contract. So I'm pretty sure that this was his first contract. It was only a couple of years. So again, it's one of those where he is a young, kind of rough and tumble striker. He's good at hold-up play. He's powerful. He knows where the goal is in terms of running towards it. But he's a very young player. It's very early days. If we decide to go in this direction, I think it's one of those where you chuck a couple of mil at Port Vale at an absolute maximum, especially because they've just gotten relegated to League Two. Again, this is the kind of one that you throw 800k at and see what happens. And then if there is any kind of deal, you let him stay at Port Vale in League Two for another season and see how he gets on. And then he's going to be 18. So there's not really much more I can give you guys unless you've seen a lot of Port Vale this season, which probably not. They did struggle. I think they finished third from bottom in League One. Did struggle quite a lot. I mean, if we have a look at, if we scroll down, you might be able to see some of the games. So that might give you a bit of an indication. So this is recent months. There's his goal there in a 4-0 win over France under-17s, which is great. A 4-2 loss against Exeter. Again, he scored in this game as well. And then a 2-0 win over Bristol Rovers with him getting a goal. This is the one that kind of popularized him. This kind of game, he was very, very fantastic. He was fantastic. Physical. Again, we don't kind of get the data, I don't think, at this level. If I click on him, is it going to work? Where is he? I can't find him. Was he a sub? He was potentially a sub. Oh, he was a sub. So maybe this is where he got his run of games then because of an injury. So in this game, so duels, there you go. There's the duels. 3 out of 4 ground duels. He won 1 out of 2 aerial duels. 2 shots on target with 1 goal. So he's up there trying to be physical, hold the ball up and get some shots on target when possible. A bit more of a traditional striker. But he does seem quite technically gifted as well. From some of the highlights I've seen of him, I've seen a couple of Cruyff turns in there. I've seen a couple of nutmegs when he's out wide, hugging the touchline. He tries to get himself out of trouble through not just through sheer power, but through a little bit of trickery as well. But he is quite big. So, to be fair, again, if you watch anything of him, he's enormous for a 17-year-old, and he holds his own, especially if he drifts out wide. The fullback can't handle him. The centre half will come and have to deal with him. It's a 2v1. And he's got the power to get through them. He doesn't have to go around them. He can get through them. So for his age range, that's very, very impressive. So I would encourage you again, especially after this transfer show with who we've reviewed today. I would go and have a look at all 3 that we've reviewed tonight. Go and have a look at some clips. Don't just take my word for it. Desiree Doue is of course the pick of the bunch for this lot, and it's a pleasure to watch him play football. The first guy, Sosa, is very impressive as well on the left-hand side, and this guy is refreshing to watch as a 17-year-old. You don't get many young strikers in this kind of mold anymore, especially not 17-year-olds. So he's massive for his age, and that is all we've got tonight, I'm afraid, for players.
Bailey D. Peppa, yeah, Port Vale, 17-year-old. Stato, would he be a third choice striker for you, or would he just be straight into the youth help?
No. He'd go straight back out on loan.
Yeah.
If I was buying him, I'd give him straight back to Port Vale for next season and try and give him 40 odd games in League Two, trying to help them get back up. And it might help them say yes to the transfer. If we offer them a reasonable fee and say you can have him back next year as well to help you get promoted, I think that's win-win for both parties. They get some money and they get him for another year, but he's developed by them, and we just kind of can sit on that and bring him back to the club when he's sort of 18 and a half, closer to 19 years old, and then we can figure out what we want to do with him.
How much do you think this lad would cost then if we were to go for him?
It's really tricky to say. Really tricky to say in terms of player valuations. Again, this is why I'm no professional, guys, and I don't work for football clubs because I've got no experience in this industry professionally. And when you throw me into the swimming pool with no armbands on, I've just got to try and make a general guess at pricing.
Yeah.
I mean, I pulled 800k out of my ass. I don't know where I got that from. I would probably say
in the press. It was in the press, that's not.
if I had to give an educated guess, and it's with no education at all in this,
a million, couple of million.
Yeah, a couple of million. I think
salon clauses, that kind of thing.
I don't know. I feel like a silly club might throw as much as 3 to 5 at him, but it would be ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous to throw that much at him. But again, he's 17, he's promising, and he's got the physicality and the technical ability that looks like he's going to be able to progress and play at higher levels of football. I would say he's at least a championship player. But again, I'm not a scout. It's really hard for me to tell. It's just from what I've seen, he looks like he's got enough of those. He ticks enough of the boxes that where he's going to be a decent footballer at a decent level. Again, it's another one of these that might not work at Premier League level, or especially what we're going for in terms of trying to win trophies. But you don't have to. Not every hit has to be a great hit. We just need to recruit well and at least maybe make a return on investment and move players on, and we can help develop players, and everybody's happy, right?
Absolutely. Don't forget, folks, hit that subscribe button if you are new to us and you're enjoying what you're seeing. We are very, very close to 30,000 subscribers at this precise moment in time. And also give that thumbs up a click, give us a like, and just help us attract more subscribers. Also, paid subscriptions are called memberships. You can become a member of this fantastic community by clicking the join button. And also, super chats are available. And I may have missed a couple of them. Dr. House has given me a £2, give us a £2 super chat, I should say. I've been Alex of the channel as always. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. And Reese, who's been a member for 8 months, he says, "Hey, Billy and Stato, you guys are awesome. Your work certainly pays off in these brilliant shows. PS, what do you make of the Minte to Everton links?" Stato.
I mean, depending on what we do recruitment wise this summer, I'm not completely against it, you know.
No.
As long as he can't play against us, I mean, is it really that much of a problem? Because he needs to go in the Premier League. It's just going to be frustrating if he starts doing really well for them, because then we could do with him for us. But it depends who we recruit. If we use Jacob Murphy and then recruit a first sort of, you know, maybe that's the marquee. If we recruit a marquee right winger, then maybe giving Minte to a Premier League team for a season at the lower end is a good thing.
On loan, yeah.
You know, players like Ashley Young aren't going to play all the time, so they would use him, right?
You wouldn't sell him, would you? You just loan him.
No, I wouldn't sell him. Absolutely not yet.
I
say not yet.
Comment up because I think it's quite a harsh one. I've been quite critical of Mr. Howe this season. But John Blogg says, "Let's face it, employing Eddie was a risk. We basically gave a manager who had won nothing of note and hoped to become an elite. Stayed up, spent 400 million quid, got us 4th place, and fell off a cliff." There's so many things wrong in that sentence, John. I don't think going from 4th to 7th is falling off a cliff for starters, especially with the amount of injuries we had. Has he spent £400 million? I'm not sure. I think a 4th place finish last season before last now, of course, is a potentially elite manager. So I think you've been really harsh there, mate, to be honest. It's, you know, I've been critical of him, and I'm going to be critical of him again in the close season because I've thought things that have cost us Europe this season. The Liverpool game, I thought he was tactically outthought by Klopp, and he threw away the win really with his substitutions. But there's other things he did wrong as well. But then again, you've got to balance that up with what he did after when we were 11th in the table and pulled us back up to 7th, and really should have been 6th. And his players let him down in the past 3 games. The penultimate 2 games before the Brentford game. His players let him down, so I think you've been really harsh there. Stato, what do you think?
Is 4th to 7th fell off a cliff?
No, of course it isn't.
I think that's again, you're entitled to your opinions. Personally, I think that's ridiculous. You know, you've got a season where obviously everybody knows who we are and are going to be able to kind of set up for that. On top of that, you've got the European campaign and the injuries. It's to only drop 3 places. I feel like if the manager was really struggling, we'd have been outside the top 10, and then he'd have gotten fired, and there'd have been huge problems. But and you can see there was an uptick in performances when we started to get players back as well. And then a few players being silly with like Dummett and stuff. Again, there's drop points in situations that Eddie Howe can't control. Like he didn't tell Dummett on the sideline, "Go on, lad, go take him down in the box." Like that never happened. I think that's a bit harsh. I mean, not a bit harsh. It's very harsh.
He then says there's no evidence that Eddie will win anything for us. Every time we get anywhere near, he bottles it and the players bottle it. League Cup final, Champions League games.
What do you mean every time? We had one final and then a Champions League group stage of death. What do you mean every time? There's been 2 instances. And let's not forget that Pep Guardiola's just lost an FA Cup final against Dross. So every manager makes mistakes. Every manager does this. Like the Man City fans get frustrated with Pep, and Pep's the best manager in the world right now. Like it's, it does get frustrating.
Yeah, there's no evidence that anyone's going to win anything next season because it's next season. You can't even say there's evidence that Pep Guardiola's going to win anything next season because it's next season. Anything can happen.
He won the Prem by a game. So, one result's different and Pep doesn't win any trophies this year. Then he's suddenly not good enough? It's crazy take. Crazy take.
Predator says, and Hodge Predator, I hope you're well, mate. All right, everyone. Why are we so hung up on English players? What's wrong with foreign players? We all seem to be looking at signing homegrown players.
We reviewed 2 foreign players out of the 3.
Indeed we have. And indeed we have come to the end of the show. But RJ, who did kind of start us off, I'd rather find this channel. This is 100% better than other football channels. Thank you, RJ. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way out, or if you've already done it, I'll be very pleased. As I say, really close to 30,000. See you, Kath. Hope you've had a great show. David doesn't want us to give Everton anything, so no for him.
But for shows, by the way, guys, as me and Billy have said a few times tonight, we have got some really interesting topics we can and are going to cover. Obviously, we just need to. It depended on what was going to happen in this playoff final of the Championship with Leeds and Southampton. There's a lot of different things we're going to be able to cover this week, so it depends what's on the rota.
All applies to Everton would be a great shout for Minte loan as long as there's a recall options. Jan says Doue, Peppa, Minte would do just fine. Play from the bench and bring them in. I'm not sure Peppa's ready for that yet, to be fair, but certainly the other 2. De Zero is a unit, 6 for £180 as a kid with such quick feet, buying for $40 million. Oh, well, I don't think we're buying from any dollars. It'll be euros, won't it? But there you go. We have come to the end of the show. Thanks ever so much for Stato for his hard work again. But we have got another couple of super chats before we do leave you. We have £5 from Dan Robinson. We've got 4th last season as we weren't in Europe. We weren't prepared for so many games. Lacked squad depth, worst injuries on record. And we still got 7th. I tend to agree with that. Chippers, another super chat. He says, we were only 8 points off top 4 with almost 11 injuries at a time. People need to chill. And Jan says, they are not mistakes, they are hiccups. Well, I don't know. And then Sam Snipe Dove, thank you for your super chat. Eddie Howe just prefers players with a certain mentality. I do agree with that too. Well said to all of you. Come to the end. Well done, Stato. Fantastic work there, mate. To look at those 3 players that we've been linked with. Thanks to all the mods in the background who have kept the chat in trim. And also thanks for you lot for watching and subscribing and becoming members and everything. And Chris says, I'm an American. Oh, no problem, mate.
We'll convert it to dollars for you.
Yeah. So thanks to everyone who's been watching. Thanks to all the subscribers, new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. And thank you to all those that have super chatted also. We shall be back with you. Keep an eye on the socials. Potentially tomorrow night with something else.
We'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah. But until then, we wish you all a very, very good evening. And we shall see you maybe tomorrow.
Away the lads and lasses.
Come back and check out some